Tonight, I get the honor to announce the Older Male Award, and the winner is acclamation!
Wow. After only 55 years in the business, I think that's pretty great. There's so many people to thank when you achieve an award like this. Besides acclamation, the people that have worked with us and been in our staff for so many years. My dad started in the business in 1938, but it has been a family affair and a love affair of horses for many, many years.
At the heart of Old English Rancho is the story of horse racing in the West. The Old English name has been synonymous with California racing for more than 80 years. And it all started with a man named Elwood B. Johnston.
My father had horses in his moving business in Philadelphia when I was a youngster, and I was with them as much as possible. We moved to Glendale when I was 12 and had to ride a donkey to school. When I was growing up, I always wanted a horse and a dog. Elwood B. Johnston.
Elwood B. Johnston was born in 1905 in Philadelphia. As a boy, horses were not merely a pastime or hobby. They were vital to seeing out the daily task of life. His early experience would forge a deep appreciation for the well-being of the animals and would shape a pragmatic philosophy that he would apply not only to his horses, but his own life as well.
He was washing dishes for Bob's Big Boy, and the pie man came in delivering pies, and he asked the pie man what he was getting paid for delivering the pies, and he told him, and he said, "Boy, that beats washing dishes." So he got a job driving a pie truck for a company called Fry Pies. One day he went in and he asked Mr. Fry, he said, "How about painting this black truck I have?" He said, "It's not very attractive." And he said, "If you put Fry's Pies on the side of it," he said, "we'd get all that free advertising while I was driving around town." And he told my dad, he said, "I'm not gonna paint your truck." He said, "If you wanna paint your truck, you paint it yourself." My dad said, "Well, if I'm gonna paint it, I'm gonna put my own name on it." And that's how Johnston's Pie got started.
Johnston Pie took off, and Elwood proved to be so adept at the pie business that he would eventually become known as the Pie Man. And with his success, Elwood was able to indulge in the fascinations of his childhood.
But the first thoroughbred he bought was in 1938, and it was a horse by the name of English Harry. He had a lot of success with him. In fact, English Harry held the track record for 2 miles, I think, at Santa Anita. Maybe he still does.
Elwood proved to be a natural, and his talent for understanding a horse and its needs recalled the philosophy that had served him so well in business.
I think the single most important thing in raising horses is to turn them out in large groups with plenty of room to run. If they're alone, young ones won't run. In groups, they'll run and play constantly, maybe getting a few nicks and bumps, but they're building muscle. Another thing, put a horse in a stall and it'll eat 8 quarts of grass a day. Leave him out day and night and he'll eat 14 pounds and won't get fat. Elwood B. Johnston.
They weren't primping horses for the marketplace. They were building race horses. So the dings and the scratches and the whatever happens, when they're all out playing together in a pasture, that was just part of it. They weren't hot-housed. And I think the results of their programs was that race horses came off of those properties by the dozens and dozens.
After the early success of English Harry, Elwood decided with then-partner Ted Tepper to start his own farm and try his hand at the breeding side of the sport.
He had purchased a horse from Louis B. Mayer by the name of Old English. And Old English was a pretty successful racehorse. He won a couple stakes, and my dad decided, you know what, why don't he and his partner buy a ranch and try breeding Old English to some mares and see what happens. He wasn't that successful as a sire, but he did leave his legacy because a writer for the racing forum by the name of Oscar Otis dubbed the farm Old English Rancho because it didn't have a name.
Of course, the name had a nice ring. It would have been, Old English Rancho is much nicer than the Pie King Rancho, even, for that matter.
The greatest legacy Old English had was having the farm named after him.
After starting the operation in Chino, California, Old English Rancho would soon find a permanent home in the growing community of Ontario. It was a world away from the traditional bluegrassed Kentucky landscape, but it was there that Elwood found something that he believed made the Ontario terrain ideal for thoroughbreds.
Elwood Johnston settled in the Chino and then Ontario area because of the soil. They were looking for a certain sandy, loamy soil that the Arabs of the desert might have grown up on. But it was anything but pretty land. It was flat, it was arid, it was smoggy. Old English was a perfectly nice farm, but it wasn't a calumet, you know, or whatever. I mean, how could it be in that setting? But yet, they've raised at least 200 stakes winners on that property.
Elwood B. Johnston had successfully established himself in the business world and was well on his way to building one of the cornerstone farms in California racing. In 1936, Elwood found time to marry his sweetheart, Betty Gill. Together, they had 3 children, a boy and 2 girls. His son, Buddy, would share his father's passion for horse racing.
I transferred from a school that I did not care for in Pasadena. I used my uncle's address and I transferred to a school in Eagle Rock called Eagle Rock High.
My good friend Marlene Hemstreet introduced us in the 8th grade. I had to give up the boyfriend I'd been going with since the 5th grade. But no, we hit it off right together, right away. We started going together when we were 13 and 14. And we never dated anybody else the whole time through high school, and then we went to Occidental College. Our 2nd year after Oxy, we got married.
And that was the beginning of a long romance. We've been married 54 years, and we dated 7 years before that, so you might say we grew up together.
I remember like the first race I ever saw when I was 13 was at Pomona. And horse won by about 7 lengths. And the next 7 or 8 races I saw, they all won like that. And then about the 9th race, they lost the race, and I thought, what's wrong? What's happened? But now that I'm seasoned, I know that you can lose 1 or 2.
When we came back from our honeymoon, my dad said to me, he said, hey, I fired the farm manager while you were on your honeymoon. Would you like to move out to the ranch and run the ranch? And I said, well, sure. I thought I was going to be in the pie business at the time.
The operation progressed with little to show for the work when an opportunity to acquire the horse of his dreams was brought to Elwood Johnston. The horse was Fleet Nasrullah, son of the legendary Nasrullah, and a dam out of the 1943 Triple Crown winner, Count Fleet.
All my life I've wanted a stallion. Now, at last, I have one. This horse has the best blood from England and America, and is truly a wonderful sire prospect. He's not as good a racehorse as Swaff's, but his value as a sire is limitless. Elwood B. Johnston.
He was huge, and I don't mean in a physical sense. He was a major score for the Johnstons and for California. At some point, Elwood Johnston caught wind of this horse and paid a pretty good chunk of money for him. And they stretched him out, and he was not strictly a sprinter.
Many in the industry were divided on Fleet Nasrullah. Elwood saw something else, and his faith in the stallion and his own intuition would pay off.
I heard Mr. Hertz on the telephone tell someone, I think it was a breeder in Kentucky, that Fleet Nasrullah wouldn't go more than 6 furlongs. I thought that was wrong. He was built like he'd go on, big, tall, and wide, and his breeding indicated it. I paid Mr. Hertz $165,000 for him, and when I handed over the check, I said I thought he'd run all day, and I was going to prove it. In the middle of February, he tried grass for the first time, winning at 9 furlongs in American record time and 146 4/5. After that race, Mr. Hertz offered me $750,000 to buy back the horse he had sold me 2 months before for $165,000. Elwood B. Johnston.
Just 6 years later, a syndicate from Kentucky approached Old English Rancho with an offer to buy Fleet Nasrullah for $1.2 million. And while Elwood preferred to keep the stallion at Old English Rancho, the deal proved to be too good to deny. But for some, saying goodbye to the fiery horse proved to be easier, if not a little bittersweet.
I had him in training, and he was being walked around a small circle. And all of a sudden, he turned and he ran over the kid that had a hold of him, and he came at me with his ears pinned and his eyes big as saucers and his mouth wide open. And he grabbed me just below the collarbone. If he'd have gotten my collarbone, he'd have probably done more damage. Knocked me down and came down on his knees, and I had a knee on each side of my body. And then he scrambled to get up. The kid that used to gallop him ran over and grabbed the shank and then started scolding him and swinging at him with the shank, and I was yelling, "Don't hit him now, you're hitting him for getting off of me. You know, if you could have punished him when he came at me, you might have taught him something. But now all you're doing is punishing him for getting off of me." And so I made him quit. But he tried to savage 2 or 3 people. So he had a bad disposition. You couldn't trust him at any time. But yet, breeding, he was a gem.
In the early 70s, Old English Rancho was at the top of its game. They were the leading breeder of stakes winners in the country in both 1971 and 1972. But the size and scope of the operations was beginning to take its toll on Elwood, and in 1975, the decision was made to sell all the livestock with the exception of the stallions.
My dad had a heart attack in about 74 and wasn't feeling well. And I thought that it might be a good time because we were really right on top at that time. We had just been, a few years prior to that, the leading breeder in the United States of stakes winners 2 years in a row. And I asked Brian Sweeney one day, I said, "You know, my dad's not feeling very well." I said, "It might be a really good opportunity for us to sell out." And he says, "You know what, I think I might know just exactly the right person."
The right person turned out to be Alexis and Catherine Yermakov of Westerly Stud. At the time, it was the biggest transfer of thoroughbred stock in history.
So I made a deal with them, sold out, and they bought 412 head, which was everything we had except our stallions.
Despite the sale, the bug for racing had not left Old English Rancho, and immediately they began to rebuild the operation. The Johnstons did not realize it, but they had already found a major key in their return to prominence, and that was Don Warren.
I went to work for him first in 1970 as an exercise boy, kind of self-taught myself out in Corona.
Donnie came up through the ranks like I did. He was a 16-year-old kid when he went to the track and started galloping horses for the Johnstons, and they took note of him and his positive attitude.
I worked for somebody else for about 6 months, and then I wanted to get in with a bigger operation, somebody that had some nice horses. And Old English Rancho was doing great at the time, so I got a job for them and started for them in 1970, and then became their trainer in 1978.
My dad loved training the horses himself, basically. He was there every morning, and so he taught Don an awful lot, and Don today still follows the same basic patterns and stuff that we did way back then, and it's been a very good relationship.
And he's been our trainer for as long as I've been there. And it's worked very well for Buddy to be with Donnie.
He's just all in all my type of guy, and we get along great.
On October 27, 1981, Elwood B. Johnston passed away. The industry mourned the loss of one of its truly natural horsemen, a man who had taken land that most would scorn as worthless, and there he built champions. Despite the success of the Ontario farm, the commercial viability of the area could not be denied, and the crush of business and industry on the thoroughbred farm proved too much. The decision was made to move the operation to Sanger, California, an area a world apart from the farm in Ontario.
This is an aerial photo taken in October of 1983, and Buddy and Bob Gady and I would sit there and we would map out where we wanted the paddocks to be, and we would go out in the field and stake it out with the tape measure, and it would come out perfect. The whole ranch was designed off this. The fencing, the underground irrigation, everything was designed right off this aerial photo.
It's beautiful. It's naturally beautiful. You've got the foothills as a backdrop. It's got beautiful poplar trees running through it, seedless cotton. It's got the river running through it. It's got nice tall grass, and the horses love it, and they have dapples all over them, and they frolic in it, and the people love it.
Yeah, this was, when we moved up here, this was just a little fishing pond. It was probably less than half the size it is now. And it was fed off the Kings River, and then it would leave here in an open ditch. Yeah, we can irrigate 400 acres with all gravity flow right off this pond.
But the tranquility of the Sanger farm would be violently interrupted. In March 2005, tragedy would strike at the heart of the humble farm and would jeopardize the future of Old English Rancho.
There was a young man that lived next door to our farm. He had, with another boy, had driven around the area, and they started shooting cats, dogs. They just got a thrill out of killing animals, and they wound up going by the front of our place, and they shot into our group of yearlings, and they killed 3 of them. And in fact, one of them, to this day, I have never raised a more attractive yearling.
But just 1 year after the senseless killing, a horse was born that would change the fortunes of the farm. His name was Acclamation. Just 1 year after the senseless killing, a horse was born that would change the fortunes of the farm. His name was Acclamation.
Well, when he first came in, of course, Bud Johnson told me, I think this is going to be one of our top prospects. I thought, well, he's certainly well-bred enough, and he's certainly good-looking enough, so let's go to work and see what we got.
He's not like most whole horses that are always biting and always nipping, and they really don't like you fooling with him much. He loves attention.
He's a wonderful individual to work around. He does everything you want him to.
He just has a marvelous personality. He is so kind to handle. He's just an amazing racehorse.
Acclamation got off to what most would consider a slow start. But Buddy and Don's faith in the horse was unshaken. And then one day, as he was reviewing one of Acclamation's old races, Buddy noticed something.
When he was running earlier, I noticed that a number of times he would come from just off the pace and take the lead at the head of the stretch and then give it up in the last 16th of a mile. And I saw a pattern of that in about 3 races. When the jockey would get riding him hard and reach down and start hitting him with a whip, that he would lose his action and actually lose position in the race. I said, I think this horse doesn't like the whip. He's given you 110%, and when you start hitting him, he thinks you're punishing him. And so we have since basically taken the whip away from the rider, and he's been unbeaten since.
Acclamation is asked for speed and goes right out for the front. Acclamation in charge at once. And Acclamation is going to do it. He's going to run them right off of their feet. Acclamation still 8 lengths in front. Acclamation, yes!
That heart of his is so huge, and he just wants to do it. To watch his action and the way he tries, he's like watching Kobe Bryant dunk a ball. It's just amazing to watch an athlete like him.
After having seemingly cracked the code that was acclamation, Buddy again threw caution to the wind. Relying solely on his intuition as a horseman, Buddy opted to put acclamation on a new turf at a new length in one of the biggest races of the year.
We'd already proven that he could handle the turf and loved the turf courses. Whether or not he could handle the cushion track down at Del Mar was a big question. And if you've got a horse that appreciates that kind of a course, then he's going to move up on the turf.
Now Acclamation gets on to lead them. Game On Dude is going to go right up and race in the second spot. Acclamation, twirling, Candy, Acclamation and Pat Valenzuela won the Pacific Classic by a head.
After a monumental 2011 campaign, Acclamation took home the 2012 Eclipse Award for Older Horse.
And the winner is...
When the fellow was opening the envelope, I kept thinking, he's going to say Acclamation. And he said Acclamation, and I said to my wife, I said, what'd he say? Did he really say Acclamation, or was I just thinking it?
And then Buddy said, are you sure he said that? I said, I'm positive. I saw his mouth move, so let's go.
It was such a high. I don't know if I could ever describe what a high that was. Just having Acclamation there and being a national award and having actually that night 2 California horses winning that it was a great evening.
There's someone missing on the stage here who should be here with us, and that's our trainer, Don Warren.
I had a horse running in a late race, a stake race. Had Norsky running San Gabriel handicap. So I decided not to go to the Eclipse Awards and just watch my horse run. And he won.
The Old English Rancho family dynasty is now approaching its 4th generation, with Buddy's grandson Johnny taking his place in the family business.
You know, I really would love to keep this business. The Old English Rancho name means a lot to me. And yeah, I would love to continue that as long as we can, because it's 4th generation. Maybe we go 5 and 6 would be fine with me. So that would be great.
We've been 55 years through thick and thin and ups and downs, and I think that it is a bright future. You know, the fact that my children are all involved, I would love nothing more than for them to be able to continue with the legacy that my grandfather started.
I tell people that the best thing about the horse business is not necessarily winning the big stakes. That's fun, hard to replace. But it's the people that you meet in this business that make the business so special.